Hey, what's up everybody? BDF 44 coming at you another video. So I don't know if y'all seen what Dama's Live just posted, but Cardi B, who happens to be on my prayer list, said that there's a freaky ghost in her house that tried to sleep with her when Offset isn't there. Now, if y'all saw my therapy session last night, y'all know I told y'all a story that was pretty much like that. That happened to me. And so the fact that she's on the list and the fact that something like that is coming out, just one more coincidence. One more weird coincidence to add to the trillions of coincidences that I've put on this camera. It ain't much else to say in regards to that. I'm moving on from that. But I just want y'all to know that is what is being posted. That is what she's saying. I don't know if she saw my video and is running with that. I highly, highly doubt it. But she's on that prayer list. And y'all keep that as a tea leaf as we continue to move forward. Anyway, moving on from that. Grief. I'm having a conversation with my homegirl Karen, whom that ghost was pretending to be. Y'all can say I'm crazy. I said I'm crazy too. But she said we're having a conversation about grief. She's having a hard time. And I'm going to tell y'all, I think I've had a conversation with y'all about this before, but I'm going to tell y'all, more or less what I'm thinking right now. When you've lost somebody that you love, like really, really appreciate, family member, friend, spouse, even your own child, different things that I can't relate to. Prayers out to you if you go through that. But understand that grief and the sorrow of losing somebody is a thin line between the two. And once you start getting into the obsessive grief, that's when you need to know that your spirit is being attacked. Your ability to function, your ability to be of service in comfort to others, your ability to perceive appreciation and gratitude, that is what's being attacked. And a lot of times that spirit will drive you into making decisions that hurt others, into the bottle, into drugs, into things that are very difficult to get out of. We need to be able to know the difference between going through bereavement and having that dark spirit of deep grief hit us and stay with us, because what it tries to do is push you straight into things that are not good for you. And I know I've had this conversation before at length, so if you follow my therapy sessions close enough, I'm sure you've heard something like this once or twice before. But that's what my friend is going through right now, is deep grief. And I'm telling her, it's not of God. That is not the energy that your loved ones want you to feel. It is not. If somebody loves you as much as you believe they did, the last thing they want you to be is tortured for any reason, whether it be because of something they did or their passing. They do not want you sitting back, not able to function, not able to move, not able to get out of bed. That is something that debilitates you, and that is not of your betterment. A lot of times we will feel that naturally, but we gotta be able to know the difference between, like I said, bereaving and grieving. The type of grieving that comes with just missing a person and not having them in the flesh no more. But we got to be able to weigh that against the truth. The truth is that we all are going home. We all are mortal beings. So bereavement is inevitable. And if we're going to allow ourselves to sit in those spaces of deep sorrow that ultimately we just accept and don't want to even move out of, we're not even open to moving out of it because it has such a hold on us. We need to understand that you can feel that before a person leaves. You can feel that before they die. You understand what I'm saying? Because we already know that everyone's going to die. I think that the reality is that for me, and I can't say reality, but my belief is that it's spiritual warfare. It is meant, as I said, to keep you from being grateful, to keep you from being of service to somebody else, to keep you from being able to keep a clear mind, to coerce you into circumstances that ultimately make you dependent on things. Bottles, drugs, cigarettes, sex, various different things that ain't going to bring you toward a good path. It's going to have you going down the wrong one. just by default, because we continue to allow that spirit to just sit on us. And we sit there and do that dance with that spirit and tell ourselves it's because we loved our loved one. Nah, that's an attack, friend. That's an attack. That is not anything other than any other thing that's trying to destroy you in this world. It's evil. And as I always say, we fight with inner demons and outer demons. That's what we deal with. Our own inner demons, our own evil, and our own cultures and things of that nature that push us away from from God. And the outer demons out there, the culture that's in our world and in our circumference that ultimately wants us to be of ourselves and not of God. And that particular type of grief, that one's in the inside of us. And we can either choose to fight it with prayer and the truth of what it is I just said, which is that is a thin line between missing somebody and allowing yourself to be tortured over their passing. We gotta let the truth in. We gotta let God in. We gotta pray about it. You gotta feel what you feel, but then you have to know when you're being attacked. And that's a tricky thing for a lot of people, especially when they're in those spaces. I can't speak to that because I'm not in it right now. But I know what it is I'm looking at. And so that's why I wanted to come here and tell y'all, man, don't think for 1 second that your loved one, whether they were, whatever their role was in your life, don't think for 1 second that their intentions was to see you suffer endlessly over their passing. Nobody who actually loves you wants that for you. Your enemies want that for you. Your enemy definitely wants that for you. You think about the things we don't wish on our worst enemy. Deep grief is definitely one of those things. You've already went through the trauma of what you went through, so it's understood that you're gonna feel something. But that deep grief needs to be fought against. You need to see that as an enemy. You got to see that as something that's meant to destroy your happiness and ultimately keep you from making others happy, keep you from doing something that you need to be doing with the time that you're sitting there grieving. So fight it with the truth. Fight it with good memories of your loved one. Fight it with these words I'm giving you right here. That is not of God. And it's meant to paralyze you and keep you from doing things that God wants you to do. Keep you from being able to comfort others. Keep you from even getting to the next moment. A lot of times people die of a broken heart. I can't speak to whether or not they've succumbed to that grief or not, but I'm willing to bet a lot of them did. A lot of them drank themselves to a stupor, just couldn't, you know what I mean? That grief is not of life. It's not a reflection of anything other than the enemy trying to consume you and ultimately destroy you. Coerce you into stuff that ain't no good. I told you guys a couple times when I did the worst things that I did that made God angry, it was usually because I was in pain. And the way I looked at it is, because I was in pain or because I went through what I went through, I was going to take back my pound of flesh, so to speak. I'm gonna do bad because I feel bad, but that didn't make me feel good. It just coerced me into consequences I couldn't deal with. It coerced me into circumstances where the Lord wasn't pleased with me. If I lost somebody and they were good people, then I truly believe they right next to God, because every good thing that ever comes to us comes from the source, and every good thing must return to that source. And if we're good enough, we will return to where those things are too and be reunited with those good things as a good thing ourselves. So if that truth can't help me overcome my grief, then what is it that I'm actually grieving? Because it surely isn't the truth. It surely isn't the loved one, because they don't want that for me. They don't want me sitting up there miserable over their passing, dying over their passing. How does that work? Drinking myself into a stupor, doing stuff that's outside of my character, leaning in to people that don't mean no good for me, being all reckless, driving all drunk and all kinds of stuff. That's what that grief is ultimately trying to coerce you into circumstances that are outside of your control and ultimately will weaponize you against you and others. This is not for me to be beating up the grieving. That's not the point. It's about knowing when that line has been stepped over and when it's time to start praying that off of you. When it's time to start rejecting those feelings from within yourself and your consciousness, to know that this ain't just me missing my loved one in the flesh. Now we're getting into a space where that inner demon of grief, darkness, is trying to attack me. It's trying to bring me low. It's trying to put me away. And I got more life to live, because if it wasn't, I would too go away. The Lord would take me home if he were done with me. So obviously if I'm alive, there's still more to do. And that grief is trying to keep you from doing it. So I want to speak life to that. I want to speak truth to that, because I know it. You got to fight that with prayer. You got to fight that with gratitude. You got to fight that with doing things you love to do. You got to fight that with thinking of the good times with the loved one that you had. Not just sitting there with sorrow over what you're feeling. You got to fight that with mental health support if that's what it takes, because you saw some trauma or something. You got to fight that with everything you got. You got to fight that just like you would fight anything else that's coming at you trying to take you out. Because once you cross over from just feeling that natural sorrow, which should have some good attached to it if you're thinking about loved ones that you lost. Maybe they died in some horrible ways, as to which your mental health is going to have to be addressed. Maybe they were taken in some unnatural way. That will definitely coerce us into that space and make it hard for us to fight that. But don't be confused by what you're dealing with. You still have to fight back, because you are a solution to someone else's grief. You can too, if you come out of that, teach someone else how to come out of that. You know, last week I didn't think I was going to make it. I wasn't grieving over somebody who was passing, but I was grieving over my circumstances, and it had me feeling low. I was grieving within my mental health because I thought I was going to be uncomfortable. Y'all know how that does to me. But if I would have succumbed to that, I would have never been alive to tell you this. I would have never been alive to try to help my friend K through that. I had to make it through that somehow, and I didn't even hardly want to. But I trusted God, I prayed, and I waited on it. That patience is most important too. You're not going to heal yourself overnight from grief. You're not going to heal yourself overnight from bereavement. But your prayers will work if you're patient with God. Your prayers will work if you're patient with your heart. And a lot of times grief will tell you that you need to beat yourself up because you're not healing quick enough. That too can be a cycle of grief in and of itself. Telling yourself you need to hurry up and get it together. No, you don't. You need to work the process of your grief and do things that make you feel better. Do things that make you laugh. Be around people that can get your mind off of that. But definitely don't go to the bottle. Definitely don't go to drugs. Definitely don't, lean into somebody that only wants you for sex. Believe me, those type of things are going to lead you into the worst direction. That's going to further bring you more pain. And that's exactly what that demon wants to do to you. You don't have to harbor any shame. Maybe you hold some blame for what happened. Maybe something took place and it was, you can look at yourself, and none of that can't be sorted out with a conversation with God or several conversations with God. He will heal you properly. He'll let you get through your pain and your sorrow, your bereavement properly. You will then understand that you have people praying for you. That the prayers you've already prayed are going to kick in now. Prayers that you prayed for others is going to start kicking in. Isn't that what I told y'all last Tuesday? I started feeling the presence of people that I had prayed for coming through to save me from my own grief, telling me to keep going, people showing up in my dreams. That came from an unselfishness that I had when I was praying for others. And I believe the same thing happened for you. But we can't allow our pain to just settle in our hearts and feel like it's just about us. Everything that's going on is about us, and we need to feel it. That's it. We're in this pain, and that's all there is. No. There's more for you to lend yourself to. Because you're in grief, you can relate to somebody in the moment who's grieving. So you can start praying for people who are grieving like you. Pray for people who are taking it even worse than you. And let those prayers lead you outside of that demonic energy of deep sorrow. It's the self-centered nature of our sorrow that ultimately confuses us into thinking that it's nothing left but the sorrow. But there's gratitude, because things can always get worse. There's always somebody you can console. There's always something you can do to be creative or what have you within those moments. You can turn your grief into something productive. But if you only harbor that grief, you only feel yourself and that's it, then that enemy is going to definitely coerce you into death of your own, or something that's going to ultimately make it so that you'll weaponize against somebody else in various different ways that we've already mentioned. Getting all drunk, getting behind the wheel, being all reckless and all types of stuff, lashing out at people and all types of stuff. That's what that grief is about. It's about bringing your demons out. And I'm telling you, by way of what it is you've lost. That ain't even really lost if you really know the truth. If you know what I know, then you know that person that you've lost is right next to God. He ain't lost in person, you did. He hasn't lost them. He's just waiting for you to be done with your life so he can bring you to them. But I tell you, that grief, if it coerces you into sin, it's going to keep you further away from that truth. It's going to keep you further away from being one of those good things that can go back to good things. Because he ain't going to bring nothing bad to the good. You understand what I'm saying? That's how that works. And once you turn over to the other side and you become of that grief and you start being weaponized against others and you start sinning against others because of that grief, guess where you can't go? Where the good things go? That grief is meant to pull you further away from ever seeing your loved one again. If you let it grab a hold of you and keep you like that. You be gentle to yourself in the way. You can't fight it by being mad at it. You can't fight it like I'm screaming at it. No. You got to be gentle with yourself, patient with yourself, and do things that make you feel better. As I told my friend Kate, turn on a funny movie. You're a vibrant person by nature. Run yourself with bathwater. Play your favorite music. Call a happy or laughter, inducing friend. Somebody that's going to get your mind off of those things. You got to fight it with goodness, because that's ultimately what it doesn't want. Fight it with gratitude. You can't fight evil with evil. You got to fight evil with good. You got to annoy it to death with the love in your heart. You got to remind it who it is that you actually are missing. A good person, a loved one, someone that you plan on seeing again. You know what I'm saying? You let that grief know what the truth is. You let that grief know, just like any other enemy that you would stand up against, that it can't win. It cannot. It don't have the ability to beat you unless you allow it to. And the only way you're going to allow it to is to not understand these words of truth. My name is BDF 44. I thank you all for watching. I'm out.